So Ghostrick got some new support, and obviously it didn't really make the archetype really playable, but it got some interesting roots because of some cards that it got, and it got a Monster Reborn that is searchable, also Angel Mischief. So I found this combo actually from a YGO Pro deck profile that I'll post a link in the description for what I kind of took the idea for this deck from a person called Super Nix, and then also MBT made a video on this. Which kind of prompted me to get this video out of the way. And his deck was a lot different. He used the Brave engine, but I'm using some more interesting cards, and we're going to be focusing on kind of what I call the 4 heavenly kings of this deck. And the 4 cards I'm talking about are Baroness, Chaos Ruler, Zeus, and UFD. So, if you don't know, the main interaction and what I got from that video was any level 2 level 3s on the field, and basically if you make a rank 3, it now equals UFD because of the Ghostrick support. So the line is that you get any level 3s on the field, you make Alucard, then you overlay Alucard on Angel Misfit, and then you go and detach a material. You need to detach a material, you need to detach Alucard specifically. You search the Monster Reborn, you activate the Monster Reborn, get Alucard back, Alucard gets overlaid into another Angel Mischief, and you have 2 XYZs on the field. What does that mean? Now you have the UFD line set up. And that's basically it. And so what I've been experimenting with some other builds, I have a P.U.N.K video hopefully coming out soon, but I'm working on something for it. But we're going to be using the P.U.N.Ks that just released as an actual engine to get the rank 3s on the field with the help of E-Telly, and this archetype just already has a built-in E-Telly for it. But it also enables some more interesting plays with synchro plays because they're all tuners. You also get some P.U.N.Ks traps from the lineups. One's just a generic gate, and then one's just a generic pop. I'm playing both in here to experiment and everything like that, but you probably should realistically go down to one. Either way, the P.U.N.K lineup is with the help of E-Telly, just like it makes it really easy to get these 2 tuners on the field, and you can make a rank 3. But if you add some else to the mix, you can do some cool synchro plays with the help of this Tenyi engine and some other stuff that I got here. So let's get into that. So originally when I made this, I was just like, okay, we'll just do the P.U.N.K stuff, and then we'll just, I need something like to back up the archetype, something generic, as always, splashing an Eldlich in here. And I thought I'd cut Eldlich eventually, but the more engines that I put into this deck, the more Eldlich synergies just started happening. So originally, the reason why I had Eldlich splash into here was because Foxy Tune is a discard. I'm just like, okay, well, it's a good discard target. The Eldlich traps, the regular line of thinking that people do when they discard, just get some free advantage off the Eldlich stuff. The Eldlich stuff is just can be splashed anywhere, especially because this thing is it's pseudo normal summon oriented. A normal summon gets your combo started, but you don't usually use your normal summon all the time. And that's kind of where the thinking went, everything like that. But then as I started throwing in more engines, notably the Tenyis, that's when the Eldritch stuff started becoming a lot cooler and a lot more interesting, and just more plays started happening. So, let's talk about why I'm playing the Eldritch stuff in here. So, obviously, like I said, with Foxy Tune is just another copy of E-Telly in the deck. Ogre is just the rota for the archetype. Foxy Tune is just pitch itself, pitch another card from your hand, special summon one of the level 3s from your deck. So it literally is just more copies of E-Telly. By the way, 3 E-Telly, amazing. Would completely makes this deck function. But either way, the Eldritch stuff, it can be really nice when you combine it with the Tenyi stuff. And so, basically, we're almost always getting a level 3 tuner on our field at all the time. And so this is why I threw in the level 7 Tenyis. And so this is what people have been doing with the Brave Engine stuff, and I believe with the Rose Dragons, they'd be just special summon a Tenyi, and then the Rose Dragon is a level 3 tuner that floats into something, and then they would make Baroness de Fleur. So, some interesting interaction with Baroness de Fleur. So this deck isn't just UFD Turbo with the P.U.N.K engine. No, there's another side to it, which is okay, sometimes we're just going in to Baroness de Fleur immediately. We're just turboing out into Baroness de Fleur. And the reason for that is because the UFD line it's pretty neat, but it also just it plays into Nibiru, annoyingly. It's not the greatest way to make UFD, but it's a line that you have to think about, and it's a line that people initially seem just okay, yeah, if I just side into Nibiru, then it will just immediately destroy this. But if you have this flexibility of just I can just make Baroness de Fleur on the 3rd summon. And the cool thing about Baroness de Fleur is that it synergizes with the Eldlich core pretty well. Because you have that just target any card on the field and destroy it. That means if you make Baroness de Fleur and you drew Eldland, you have your Eldlich line already online completely, because you search something with Eldland, and then you pop the Eldland and with Baroness de Fleur, and then you just throw to the graveyard whatever you didn't search, and then that gets you a Sanguine. And so now you have Baroness de Fleur, which is an Omni Negate, and then you have your Eldlich line just completely online already, and then whatever else you drew for turn. It's a really cool like pivot point you can take in game 2 and 3, or like some hands that just let's say you get negate, you special summon the Tenyi, you normal summon Seaman, and then the Seaman search gets negated or something like that. It gets ashed or impermanent or anything like that. Then you just go into him, Baroness de Fleur, and so it's just like, oh, okay, nothing really changed. My line is still relatively the same. Obviously, Baroness de Fleur is a little bit better in some aspects because it's an actual Omni Negate, but it doesn't have any protection. But with the Eldlich engine, there's also the thing that you have with P.U.N.K and Hawk is that they're level 5s. And so what this means is that you're just not always, but you're basically getting a level 3 tuner on the field like at all turns, because it's just like, it's easy to find them with the P.U.N.K engine. And so what you can do is that if you have just a random Hawk and a random Conquistador on the field, you can just make that into Chaos Ruler. And Chaos Ruler is like extremely funny in this deck because it can just immediately net you advantage, hit the Eldritch stuff, hit Vashuda, Ashuna, Foxy Toon and Ogre are light and dark for some reason. It's just like, it's such a really just fun, like, weird synergies that this deck has that you could just do. And then with Chaos Ruler, you can make Amazing Dragon because with any other level 3, and just like blow up. You can just return all the board, get rid of some more pieces on the board. This deck can struggle with removing some things sometimes. But also, Amazing Dragon can just help you go for game sometimes, because if you don't use the bounce effect, you can just get a big Foxy Toon or big Ogre from the graveyard, and that's like the Amazing Dragon special summon effect plus Eldlich, that's over game, and you could just do that. And there's like so many weird incidental synergies that just come up from the Eldlich engine. It's really fun to just get it going and everything. The other Heavenly King I mentioned at the beginning of the video is Zeus, because on the play, Zeus is like basically what you're going to be turboing out all the time. But a funnier thing about like ways you can get to Zeus with this deck is that with the UFD line of play, what maybe isn't shown in some videos or just like on paper is that Alucard actually triggers when it's going to be detached for Utopic Future, meaning that it's actually going to get you back Ghostrick Shot. So you can use Ghostrick Shot to summon on the following turn to get Alucard back, and you can attack with Alucard or UFD at an XYZ battled, and then you can just overlay downward onto Alucard, and then you can just get almost like a free Zeus, just from the random recovery effect that Alucard got from you detaching off a UFD. It's a really funny interaction, and you can also just kind of loop it, because Alucard can just keep on getting back Shot, and then you can just keep on getting back Alucard. It's just a really funny interaction. While I'm in the extra deck here, I want to mention that I do have the Monk and the Shaman in here, and this is for a good reason. These are in here for worst case scenario hands, which is like, okay, I just drew generic shit plus Eldlich stuff and a singular Tenyi. And the Tenyi is going to be Ashuna. I actually don't know what I'm doing with the ratios yet, but I think Ashuna's correct, and I'd like to bump up Vashuda, or like play more some kind more Vashuda or Tenyis, and Vashuda's really nice going second because it's just Compulse that you have on demand. But the reason why I have Shaman in here is because Shaman discards, and so if you have a pretty bad Eldlich hand, you can discard a Conk or a Hawk and just get your Eldlich line back online and like immediately for turn 2, because you can't really fade a turn in Modern Yu-Gi-Oh! Or just like, oh yeah, just summon Akedo, Conquistador, Golden Lord's on the field. This helps you actually, like, it gets you some bodies on the field, but more importantly, it gets you that discard so you can actually get the Eldlich engine online, so you can actually do something. So this is so I have these in here for like worst case scenario hands, and make like the Tenyi stuff online, possibly do something with that. But the extra deck is kind of tight a little bit because you're playing so many like things for like requirements for the engine to actually happen. So you can maybe cut this down a little bit. If you don't find yourself in these scenarios, you can just get rid of most of these slots. Obviously, you want to play 1 or 2 monks, so you can actually get, if you draw off a shooter or Shana, you can actually like make use of them. So for the rank 3s that we have, because this is a rank 3 deck technically, but we don't have, because we have so little extra deck slots, we don't actually can't play too many versatile rank 3s. I like to play Fortune Toon. Fortune Toon really underperforming when I play with him, because he doesn't really get a format Zeus going. He's just like there to just like, okay, I just need to Zeus immediately, which obviously is nice sometimes, but sometimes your hand is just a rank 4 play, and the fact that you can't really get to a rank 4 play with format Zeus play with Fortune Tune can be really annoying sometimes. Then I also have Break Sword in here for just like generic, just like being able to pop and clear the boards. It's also 2000 attack, and it could also just be another way to get to Zeus in some way. Again, not the it's 2000 attack, so sometimes it can get to that format Zeus, which is really nice. But most of the time it would be Fortune Tuned, and sadly, just because it has so low attack, you'll be using its effect to detach one to make sure it doesn't die. And it's just been underperforming a lot more than I like. I actually have Long up here to show that like you can make this with the two punks, because it's not. You can use this as an alternate option to Fortune Tune because it's not targetable while it has X-Rays material, and it also has 24 attack, which is really big for some reason for a like without activating, just like original attack for a rank 3. So this could possibly be an option if you like find yourself just be like want to hit the format Zeus more often. I think Long might come up, but I don't know. It also has a weird negate on it, but I'm pretty sure that'll never like realistically come up. By the way, with the punk engine stuff I was talking about earlier, like that, so you normal summon Seaman, you tell Seaman, and then you get Foxy Tune pitch herself, and then something else, and then you summon Madam, and then Madam will search you any free trap. This is a pop, this is a negate, and then sometimes you actually want to leave a punk on field so you get the additional effect. Obviously, this one to gain life point isn't super important, but notably, this one becomes just a generic pop instead of a setting pop, meaning that this is also a Mystic Mine out, which is really nice. Obviously, this is an Eldlich deck, so it's not really losing the Mystic Mine. But if you're splashing the Punk Engine in other decks, this is a notable thing to have, is just like, oh, this is actually a Mystic Mine out. That's really cool. But anyways, it's just a whole bunch of engines. You have it up. I have it up here. P.U.N.K, Ghostrick, UFD, Tenyi, Eldlich. Just a whole bunch of engines just trying to make use of like some extremely strong extra deck cards and like getting to them easily. And just trying to just like using that Eldlich engine to just like, support them. I have some generic cards in here. Droplet, Imperm, both good. Going second, going first. Just extremely generic cards right here. But it's just a really interesting deck with how everything plays out and everything like that. I'm going to show some replays off. Hopefully that goes well. And just show you just like the pivot points this deck can take. And I think where this deck can shine actually is in siding. Don't really pay too much attention to my side deck right now. It kind of in the works. I don't really care about it. But what I'm talking about is just like the opponent's siding. Because the opponent's siding is like, okay, they made UFD turn 1. So I kind of have to deal with that a little bit like that. Like just like, they kind of special summon a lot. Maybe I'll go and get some Nibiru. And just like, okay, if they're getting Nibiru, then they're not getting back row hate. And just like, okay, sometimes you just can't really find the combo. So just like, maybe I'm just actually like setting for this turn. Just like, okay, maybe I'm actually getting Baroness, which is an Omni-Gate this time, which is like, oh shit, if I'm going to get a board wipe, I have to draw 2 of the board wipes now because Baroness is going to negate one of them. So it's just like, I think this deck, one of the strengths of this deck is that, first of all, this deck is just really to show off the ideas of just like the interaction that the Ghostrick support gave us, but also some other stuff of just like, oh, you can just make a Tenyi and any fucking tuner, level 3 tuner into Baroness, and that's a funny interaction. And it could be really interesting to like, maybe this deck shines and we're just like, oh, siding against this is actually like really annoying. And like maybe if the side deck gets tuned out, you can like kind of metagame with that and everything like that. But it's a really cool deck. It really is kind of like a kitchen sink deck. Just like throw just a bunch of shit and just make these really big annoying 3K bodies from the extra deck on the field. These 4 Heavenly Kings. And let's get into some replays and show you what this deck can do and maybe give you my closing thoughts on the deck. Alright, starting off with the replays here, we're going to go do the UFD line first. With all these replays, don't really pay attention to what my opponent's playing. Sometimes we'll have some relevant cards that I'll talk about that are actually real cards, but not really playing against the most meta decks here. Anyways, we're up against Toon World, and let's show off this UFD line. So I'm going to start with the E-Tel here, not even using my normal summon yet, and because of that, we're going to grab the Trap Searcher with this one, and we're not going to search because we already have one of the traps in our hand. I believe at this point I only had one in the deck, but usually if you didn't have this, then you're able to go +1 off the Madam Spider to actually search something. So with E-Telly, we'll still be using our normal, but any 2 level 3s on the field, and we can go into Alucard and Mischief. Mischief is going to activate. Going to pitch Alucard, we're going to grab our Monster Reborn for Alucard. Alucard's going to come back, and we're going to go to Mischief, and we're going to UFD. Alucard's actually going to trigger here, and grab us our Monster Reborn for next turn. Now we get to UFD. We're actually going to, so because I had the other E-Telly, aka Foxy Tune, in our hand, we're actually going to grab a Punk from the deck to just vibe on the field, because what this is going to do is that it's going to enable this trap to actually just become a generic pop instead of not only being able to pop set cards. So basically, we're going to trade the Sanguine in here, which wasn't even live anyways, really, to get another interaction on their turn. And it's going to pay off for us, too. So we're just going to get Conk here, going to set 3 pass. They're going to start off with Bookmark and grab a Comic Hand to probably steal a UFD. They're going to do P.U.N.K Kingdom, and I'm just going to let it resolve. And then they're going to P.U.N.K Kingdom. We're going to pop the thing that actually steals their UFD. They're going to summon Gemini Imp. They don't Lava Golem, and they don't Mystic Mine. I don't really know what their plan is here, but they have Rod on the field. So we're going to see what happens here. We're going to just get some advantage for our team in here. We're going to get the Monster Reborn. We're going to actually Tribute Summon the fucking Ogre over our Alucard and our Conquistador. And the reason we do this here is because we get an 8, and we're going to do level 3. We're going to hard make Amazing Dragon here, and to clear the board. I'm going to get a P.U.N.K Kingdom, and that back row, or at least proc it early, and it's actually Rod. If we get the chain block here with Zeman, by the way, because it has effect to just basically just a chain block, but it gains 600 attack. It's not really relevant, but it does help chain block. But we do get rotted, and that's a little bit annoying, so now we have less monsters on board. We're just going to go to UFD here, and we're actually going to use we can actually do Downward over UFD because his UFDs were treated as rank 1. And so we're going to go into Zeus here because I don't think they can play through any interaction here. This much interaction here, it's fucking P.U.N. here, but just showing off what the interaction is. Just going to Mystic Mine. Zeus works really well with the Eldlich cards because the Eldlich cards all do something in the graveyard. So we're just going to end phase, Zeus, and then just get all of Eldlich up back, and that's the end of the game. On to the other replay here. We're still against P.U.N., but we're going to show off the different line of play here. We're going to do Shuda, and then we're going to E-Telly out one of the Punks, and we're going to Punk for another body here. We have not used our normal summon yet, so we're going to use it for Madam Spider, and Madam Spider is going to get a generic trap here. Now, what we could do with both of these on the field is we could do the UFD line, but we can play it a little bit safer here. We could do a Baroness de Fleur, and we can also do another really cool play here. We're going to grab we're going to Eldland, we're going to grab Conquistador, and now we're going to use Baroness effect to pop Conquistador, and that's going to send Hakero to the graveyard, and Hakero will get us our Sanguine to the field here. So what this means is that now we have our Eldlich ended online, we have Conk plus Sanguine, we got the trap that is live, like on live in both ways, because the Punk's on the field, so we have a pop, we have Conquistador pop, and then we have a negate from Sanguine, and then we have, obviously, the Eldlich engine going to just help us with the grind game. So let's see what they can do. They elect to not start off with Lightning Storm here, but they're going to activate P.U.N.K Kingdom. We're going to pop this with our Punk spell, our Punk trap, and then they're going to activate Lightning Storm. That'll bail out my Baroness de Fleur. They're going to P.U.N. Bookmark for the Comic Can here, but then they're going to get P.U.N. Kingdom on the field, and because Bookmark actually protects this, but because P.U.N. Kingdom is technically not on the field yet, and not like a P.U.N. card, we can actually destroy the P.U.N. Kingdom before the protection actually kicks in. So that's what's going to happen here. And because of that, they're just going to scoop up because they don't have anything left. So actually going second in this replay here, and the hero drew a little bit well, but they got Heroes Live. They can definitely get them what they want. They're not going to end on the most optimal board here. In fact, they're actually not going to end on very much interruption, but they're still going to pose a little bit of a threat for us. And our hand's not looking too good either. We drew technically 2 of our Garnets with Golden Lord and Madam Spider, and Call by the Grave usually doesn't do much going second, but hopefully we can do something here. Like I said, they're not going to really end on a great board. If you don't end on DP with a hero board in 2022, it's probably not going to be that great. But Dark Wall is still something, especially Dark Wall with Max Change and a set back row. So we drew Imperm off the top. We're actually going to Imperm here. I was thinking that they were going to, if they don't Mass Change here, then we're good, which they don't. This is a misplay by them, and they would just want to hold the Mass Change here for something maybe more relevant. But it's a big misplay here because now we get to activate Lord Effect, we get to send Conk 2, because if they Mass Change immediately after the Imperm, Macro would have still been online, and then Golden Lord and Conquistador would have been banished for this go off. And so because I don't have to worry about the Macro anymore, really, I'm just going to get rid of this back row, and it was relevant, it was Droplet. But now the sponsor Mass Change, but it's a little bit too late. And now we're going to get a little bit of a funny interaction here. But basically, we're just going to Zeus Turbo now. We want to go into rank 3 as soon as possible, and luckily we have the means to do that. We're going to grab Foxy Tune. I really don't want them to randomly pitch Foxy Tune on my hand, because then I would literally lose the game, so I am going to call by the Dark Lord that is in for the game with Mass Change. And then we're going to get the E-Telly here. And then this is where we're just going to beeline to Zeus. We're going with the Fortune Tune. I wanted to do attack into to the defense position monster so I can make a format Zeus. But they had the insight to actually activate Sunrise here. Maybe they activated it because they thought they could target Fortune Tune, but they couldn't, and it works out for them because now they're going to target Denier, and sadly now we're going to take damage, and we're going to have to discard material, so now we can't get a format Zeus. We can only get a 3-mat one, which we'll still do. But now we get to clear the board, and the hero doesn't usually do well at all on the crackback, but they're going to get some decent draws here. And also they have some pretty decent cards in the hand to actually play through some stuff. And we don't have any interaction because, like I said, couldn't get that format Zeus. But they're going to do some stuff here. They're going to get Poly. I don't think this is exactly optimal, but it's something. They're going to draw. I hope they didn't draw off Liquid. But they're going to get Absolute Zero, probably to help clear the Zeus. They're going to E-Call here for Honest Neos. They're going to Absolute Zero. Doesn't really matter. The Zeus wasn't really active. They're going to get a lot of materials on field. Militia, everything like that. I'm just like, okay, well, shit, let's try to survive through a fucking Sanguine here. And they elect to not attack over the Lord here, and because I think it's because they want to do this really weird play of getting Plasma sucked up into this. But the problem is here is that I already have a Lord in rotation, and I already have Sanguine, so I can get a Swallow Trap, so I can just attack over this Plasma whenever I want. So I draw E-Telly off the top, not too great, but it is a Swallow Trap, meaning that we can send it off Lord, which is good because we want to actually keep the Sanguine here so we can get interruption for our next turn. We're just going to hit over that Plasma, don't know why they did that, but we do have Conquistador for their turn, and they draw pretty fucking well. They draw Dark Calling off the top, and so that's going to get, sadly, it doesn't out our Lord, but this Conquistador doesn't out this fucking Malicious Bane. So we're going to have to do some roundabout ways to actually out this thing. We're just going to get a boosted Lord, get over this main, not get over it, but just attack for some damage, set some cards, and I kind of know how we're going to out this, but it's going to take a minute. They have Fusion Destiny in hand. Apparently Fusion Destiny's dead. I don't know why, but I guess we could see their deck here. I'm a little surprised their Fusion Destiny is dead, but they didn't play it. Maybe they're holding on to something. Either way, it comes back to us, and our way to actually out this Malicious Bane is actually going to be Lord effect in hand. We're going to grab Lord back in hand. We're not going to normal summon it because it is optional, and then we're going to use it to actually send the Bane to the graveyard. And we're just going to attack in. Don't really have, and then now we have Haketo and Conquistador for their turn, and so we're just in a completely winning position here. Just to go attack Lord for game. Pretty simple. Alright, the final game here, it's up against Dino, but notably they have Ash and Nibiru, so pretty good hand by them. But we're actually not going to be playing into either of them here. We're going to Shunna, and then we're going to activate Seaman. The Seaman search. They're actually going to let the Seaman search through, which I don't disagree with. But then we're just going to go into Baroness, and we're going to activate Fox Student. And we could have negated the Ash with Baroness, but Baroness only gets to negate once. And I'm just like, this Foxy Tune wasn't really going to do anything. I just want the Foxy Tune here so we get an extra pop off of this surprise here. But I just let it through because I want this negate for their turn to negate something more important. But they have a dead card in the hand because of Nibiru, so let's hope we can do something. We're going to set Droplet and set the Surprise. The Surprise isn't going to do much, but it's going to be a good target to send off the Droplet. So they're going to Terraform here for Lost World. They're going to Fossil Dig. They're going to get Sarasaurus, probably a little bit greedy, but they're going to Lost World here, just going to let it resolve. They're going to activate Ovi here, and Lost World's going to chain, and we're going to Droplet here. We're going to Droplet send the Surprise because the Surprise isn't going to do anything because they're probably not going to send any cards. And then they were just going to pass on that. They don't have anything else, nothing else in that. Like I said, probably a little bit too greedy to Fossil Dig for that baby Sarasaurus. We're going to Baroness here. We're going to pop the Lost World. We're going to Ogre. We're going to Ogre for Seaman. We're going to Seaman, grab Foxy Tune here. Then Foxy Tune's going to Special Summon as field here. And I believe I'm going to, we're going to Spider for another negate on their turn, just more interruption. And we're actually going to grab Break Sword here. We're going to Break Sword the token away. By the way, because the token was on our field, Ashana was actually alive. So that's a very funny thing. But either way, we're going to Break Sword. We're going to pop over here. We're going to go into battle here. Only do 5,000. And then we're going to overlay into Zeus. Again, we just barely didn't. It was Seaman, Spider, Break Sword into Zeus. And that's 4 summons. So we were just barely playing under Nibiru there. Even then, we still had the Baroness to Fleur negate up. So we were still fine even if we did play Nibiru, but we're just playing optimally. The draw for turn and Ovi. We're going to negate it with the trap, and that should just about wrap it up. We're going to go over turn. We're going to pop with Baroness Fleur. Baroness Fleur just getting so much value here, and that is the end of the game. That's basically it. But yeah, that's kind of the deck. It's a really interesting deck. A lot of funny interactions. A lot of things that just like kind of come up, and you just get to play a bunch of cool extra deck boss monsters, and that's kind of all I have to say. It's a really funny deck profile, and it's just a really funny deck. Give it a try.